Now it's time to turn our attention to a different type of circuit element, the capacitor, and see what happens there. Today we'll talk about how to discharge a capacitor that's already been charged. Later we'll talk about how to charge them. It's just easier to do this one first. Consider a resistor and a capacitor forming a circuit, a so-called RC circuit, in fact, the simplest possible one. So we have some capacitor and it's been charged. Right, the switch is open and the capacitor has some charge Q0. Of course, then there's no current flowing because there's no path for it to flow. And since there's no current flowing, there's no voltage across the resistor. There is a voltage across the capacitor because, of course, the voltage is just Q over C. So describe qualitatively what's going to happen as a function of time once we throw the switch. Well, some conventional charge is going to flow from the top plate, because now it has a conductive path. It's going to go through the resistor and into the bottom plate, canceling some of that negative charge. Kirchhoff's law tells us that the voltage across the capacitor plus the voltage across the resistor is 0. Of course, the voltage across the resistor is negative. It's negative IR. No really good reason to have switched symbols here, but I guess we'll call this lowercase I to be consistent. The voltage across the capacitor, of course, is just the charge on the capacitor divided by capacitance. And the voltage across the resistor is the current times the resistance. And we know there's some current flowing now because there is some charge actually going through the wires. This, of course, sums to 0 by Kirchhoff's loop law. But that current comes from charge leaving the capacitor's positive plate. Assume the charge on the positive plate changes by dq. Since we know the plate is becoming less positive, we know that dq is actually less than 0. The charge flowing through the resistor, d little q, is then going to be minus dq. In other words, if 2 coulombs leave the capacitor in some amount of time, then the same amount of time 2 coulombs must pass through the resistor. So the current, which is dq dt, ends up being minus d big Q dt. Because remember, again, this is a negative number, so minus this is still the positive we want. So then the Kirchhoff equation becomes Q over C plus R times dq over dt equals 0. This is something we've run into similarly in mechanics. This is a first order differential equation. It's a differential equation because of the differential here. And it's first order because that's a first derivative and there are no higher derivatives in it. It's also technically an ordinary differential equation because we're talking about a single variable, the complete derivative dq dt. This is eminently solvable. And here it solves. Q over C plus R dq dt equals 0. So we can solve all this over to say dq dt is minus 1 over RC times Q. Then we separate variables and we get dq over Q is minus 1 over tau dt, where I have made a substitution for convenience that tau is RC. Right now it's just for convenience. Later on I'm going to find that's actually kind of deep. Alright, so we keep going on with this. We integrate dq over Q, so we integrate minus 1 over tau dt. Of course, this is just constant, so it comes out front. So we have integral of dq over Q is minus 1 over tau integral dt. So the integral of dq over Q is, of course, just log of Q. We know that Q is positive, so we don't need the absolute value bars that are usually there in your math textbooks. And then over here we have the integral of dt, of course, is just t plus some constant. So we have minus 1 over tau times t plus some arbitrary constant. I've actually made a notational issue here. I'm going to fix and call that C star. I'm going to do that everywhere that it shows up. And the reason, of course, we already have C for capacitance. That was just poor on my part. That's the math habit of saying it's plus constant. By the way, the integral is indefinite integral gives us plus some constant. And here I've put plus some log of that constant because it's a constant. So its log is also a constant. And it's arbitrary, so it doesn't matter which one we pick. But it will be very convenient to have it in this form. Likewise, when I integrated dq over Q, I should have had a plus some constant. But I'm just going to bring that over to the other side and have it just plus the arbitrary log C star. Because these constants are arbitrary, there's really only going to be one of them when we do the integral, even though technically math teachers would say there would be 2, but we could gather them up, and since they're arbitrary, we can just make them, we can just combine them. Alright, so getting back to this, we have log of Q is minus 1 over tau t plus log of C star. The way we liberate Q from the log is to exponentiate it, so e to the log Q, which just gives us Q. But of course, since we exponentiated this side, we have to exponentiate this side, so we have e to the minus 1 over tau t plus log of C star. The exponentiation of a sum is the product of the two exponentials that are in there. So e to the minus 1 over tau times t, e to the log c star. E to the log c star, though, is just c star. So we end up at the end, let's write this a little cleaner, a little bigger. We end up with q is c star e to the minus t over tau. Of course, we don't want an arbitrary constant, so we're going to go back up here and say we do have an initial condition. We know that the charge at the start is q sub 0. So I say when t equals 0, q equals q0. So I take this equation, which should have had a little c star in it as well. And I say q0 is c star e to the minus 0 over tau. But that's e to the 0, which is just 1. So we get that q0 is c star, or c star is q0. And we end up with, finally, after all of that, this expression. The charge on the capacitor at any time is the charge at t equals 0 times the exponential e to the minus t over tau. That's a long way to go, but it's a really important result. Here's what that looks like. Zoop. It's just an exponential. Right? Exponential decay with the time constant tau. That's what we call this thing called tau. It's the time constant. Tau tells us that in one tau's worth of time, the charge falls off to 1 over e of its original value. Why would we care about it being 37% of its original value? Because e shows up all the time in calculus and physics, and so it's useful to do here. When time has passed and 2 tau have passed, it's now down to 1 over e squared, which is only 13%, and so on. Why is it that the charge is an exponential function of time? Give that a couple minutes thought. Well, when there's a lot of charge on the plate, there's a lot of repulsion. Those positive charges want to get far away from each other, and the current is large. But as charge leaves the plate, there is less left, of course, and so the repulsion gets weaker. And since the repulsion gets weaker, so does the current, which means the rate at which charge is leaving is also decreasing. And of course, we know from math that the exponential function is the mathematical function whose slope is directly proportional to the value of the function itself. All right, so we know that it's going to be some sort of exponential because the amount of charge left is proportional to how much we started with. Notice that the unit of tau are in fact seconds, as they must be. That is, the argument of an exponential must be dimensionless. So we say units of tau, which are the units of RC, are volts per amp, which is R, times coulombs per volt, which is capacitance. But an amp is a coulomb per second, and so we have the volts cancel, and we have coulombs over coulombs per second. Coulombs cancel, and we just get seconds. So after all of this, the idea of calling it the time constant makes some sense, but maybe taking a step back, it's interesting that the resistance and the capacitance both work this way. So why would that be? Why is the time depend on these two things in this linear fashion? Some of it makes sense. The more capacitance the more the capacitance, basically the more charge we have, the more the plate can hold, the less active that repulsion is going to be, so the less likely current is to flow. So it takes longer to drain it. And of course, for the resistance, it's very simple. The harder it is to push the charges through the wire, the longer it takes to clear them off the plate. All right, find the time constant in seconds for an RC circuit where the resistance is 1 kilo ohm and the capacitance is 3.4 microfarads. This really is just plug and chug. Take R times C, and we get something like 1 times 10 to the 3 ohms times 3.4 times 10 to the minus 6 farads, which turns out to be 0.0034 seconds. This one would discharge very quickly in about 3/100ths, about 3,000ths of a second, 3 milliseconds. All right, RC circuit has R of 1 kilo ohm and C of 3.4 microfarads. Capacitor is charged to hold 6.2 nanocoulombs. Once the switch is thrown, how long in seconds will pass before the capacitance holds 3.1 nanocoulombs? Well, we just take our charge equation. All right, we take our Q is Q0 e to the minus t over tau. Therefore, Q over Q0 is just e to the minus t over tau. So the log of Q over Q0 is the log of e minus t over tau. Of course, log of e to the something is just the something, so all of this becomes just minus t over tau. We can do some simple algebra and say that t, the time we want, is minus tau times the log of the charge we have over the original charge. Of course, in this particular problem, we are going from 6.2 to 3.1, so Q over Q0 is a half. And we found tau in this slide ahead of us. So we get that t is just minus 0.0034 seconds times minus the log of 2, which turns out to be 0.0024 seconds. That's how long it takes the first half of the charge to dissipate. Alright, in general, the time for a quantity to fall to 1/2 of its initial value is called, logically enough, its half-life. Alright, and again, a half-life is how long it takes to lose half of the stuff you have. There's a connection between the time constant tau and the half-life t of a half, of course. We play the same sort of game we just did there, and we say that we get that minus 1 over tau times t is log q over q0. We're going to plug in the half-life over here, and we're going to plug in a half here. I'm also going to bring the minus sign to this side. So t over a half tau is minus the log of a half, which is minus log of 2, which means that the half-life is always tau times log 2. Right, it takes a little bit longer to lose half than it takes to lose the 1 over e. Right. Which capacitor discharges most quickly after the switch is closed? A or B, or they go at the same rate, or we can't say without knowing the initial charge. Well, we fall back on and remember that the constant tau, time constant tau, is just R times C. So in case 1, it's 6 times 2, or 12 microseconds. And down here we have 5 times 3, or 15 microseconds. A shorter time constant means we get done faster, so it's capacitor A. It's probably worth noting that the voltage will also be exponential, since the voltage is just the current charge over the capacitance. The capacitance doesn't change. It's Q e to the minus t over tau, Q0 e to the minus t over tau over C. I'll group that as Q0 over C e to the minus t over tau. But Q0 over C is the initial voltage of the capacitor, and so the voltage is the initial voltage times this exponential decay factor. And that lets us know that the current will also be exponential with the same time constant. And that's a little bit more annoying mathematically. We know the current is minus dq dt, but this is q, so we take the q0 out, and we have minus q0 ddt of e to the minus t over tau. But the derivative of e to the minus t over tau by chain rule is e to the minus t over tau times its derivative, right? So the derivative of the thing, e to the x, times dxt or whatever, and we get something like this. We've got that weird little minus sign we're going to want to keep track of here. And I'm going to say, well, we have minus q0 times minus 1 over tau e to the minus t over tau, which gives us a plus sign that is a mistake here. So that minus, this minus, and this minus give us plus. We have q0 over tau e to the minus t over tau. But tau, remember, is RC, so it's Q0 over RC, e minus t over tau. We'll bring this up here and call this Q0 over C all over R, but Q0 over C is the initial voltage, and voltage over R is the current, so that the current becomes the initial current, e to the minus t over tau.